All right. This was not on my bingo card, and I'm taking this with a grain of salt. Yesterday we did do it. We had a fantastic interview with Misty Winston, and because right now we are talking about online censorship. I'm going to clip that video here in the comment section when I clip this video here, because apparently Mark Zuckerberg vows to end fact checking at Meta, work with Trump to fight global censorship, and restore free speech roots of to Facebook. So what I'm going to do is I'm probably going to send a text message to Daniel a little bit later today and be like, hey, Daniel, guess what? The Zuckerberg is trying to restore free speech roots to Facebook. So now I guess we could post original content there and not just get like one like how it was way back in the day for Hard Lens Media in 2017. Because anytime myself or Daniel would post any of our original content when we were starting off, when we were doing covers of protests, of events happening here in Chicago in 2017, when we posted our radio show, boom, nothing. But if we posted authoritative sources, oh, it got the likes, okay? Hard Lens Media in its infancy. We were just getting started. Now, we have seen firsthand, especially in the aftermath of the 2020 election, when it became very clear sometime later when the Twitter files came out, and by proxy, even the Facebook files came out, and of course, the Hunter Biden laptop story coming out. It's very clear that Facebook, Instagram, which are both under Meta, were more than happy to use their full weight and power to silence and suppress the platform, shadow ban people. And it's very interesting that now the Zuckerberg is doing this. Now, I think we have learned the lesson very clearly that when you have trust in a billionaire or one person, they are not going to be the end all be all heavyweight champion of free speech. Have we not learned this lesson before? Unfortunately, I don't think so. People are doomed to repeat it. And I think there's many people in the vote blue, no matter whose sphere, that are now crying into their mimosas and their frappuccino cappuccinos because the Zuckerberg, who was a darling of the liberal sphere, is now working with the orange boogeyman. But you don't have to take my word for it. This was recently posted by Zuckerberg. So I think it's only fair that we do pull this up here. Check it out.
Hey, everyone. I want to talk about something important today because it's time to get back to our roots around free expression on Facebook and Instagram. I started building social media to give people a voice. I gave a speech at Georgetown 5 years ago about the importance of protecting free.
Prim 54. So facts don't need checking anymore? Prim 54. How dare you ask for facts and information and citations? Shame on you.
Expression. And I still believe this today. But a lot has happened over the last several years. There's been widespread debate about potential harms from online content. Governments and legacy media have pushed to censor more and more. A lot of this is clearly political, but there's also a lot of legitimately bad stuff out there. Drugs, terrorism, child exploitation. These are things that we take very seriously, and I want to make sure that we handle responsibly. So we built a lot of complex systems to moderate content. But the problem with complex systems is they make mistakes. Even if they accidentally censor just 1% of posts, that's millions of people. And we've reached a point where it's just too many mistakes and too much censorship.
Dan Burr hitting the nail on the head. That's why I love my viewing audience. You were happy to take away people's rights when the FBI asked you to. He did do an interview with Joe Rogan. And he even said, like, yes, the FBI was visited Meta headquarters, had to deal with that Hunter Biden laptop story, as well as other key stories that were taking place during the 2020 general election between Biden and Trump.
The recent elections also feel like a cultural tipping point towards once again prioritizing speech. So we're going to get back to our roots and focus on reducing mistakes, simplifying our policies, and restoring free expression on our platforms. More specifically, here's what we're going to do. First, we're going to get rid of fact checkers and replace them with community notes similar to X, starting in the US.
Oh, okay, great. So what you're doing is you're copying Elon Musk's homework. Fantastic. And Right There says this, and man, I want you to be so wrong about this. But sadly, I must agree with you. But I want you to be wrong. New season of Black Mirror. You're living it. You're protected from going to see the White House counselor for today. How does that sound?
After Trump first got elected in 2016, the legacy media wrote nonstop about how misinformation was a threat to democracy. We tried in good faith to address those concerns without becoming the arbiters of truth. But the fact checkers have just been too politically biased and have destroyed more trust than they've created, especially in the US. So over the next couple of months, we're going to phase in a more comprehensive community notes system. Second, we're going to simplify our content policies and get rid of a bunch of restrictions on topics like immigration and gender that are just out of touch with mainstream discourse.
That's also a term for, all right, they're going to be done with the identity politics for a while because it's not working. All right. Also, for the fact of they realize now with all the censorship, suppression, they're going to try and invite people back on. See, it's a way to reignite interest into Facebook and Instagram, like how X was. But this isn't what you think it is, because there's going to be favoritism. There's going to be control. There's going to be narratives being played out. This isn't the sign of hope. This isn't the beacons are lit and that Rohan is arriving. No, it's the other way around. You can't just trust individual people, billionaires, or institutions to be the protectors of free speech. See, free speech must be protected by all, right? This is our investment. This is our future. This is our protection for us as citizens in this country. And the thing is, if the First Amendment is removed, if it's gone, if it is silenced, if it is controlled or deformed or cut up in any which way, it's never coming back. And some can argue that it's already gone. Now, there are a lot of independent media channels that know all too well what it's like to be hit in the gut by censorship. But if we don't stand up against this, we're all done for.
What started as a movement to be more inclusive has increasingly been used to shut down opinions.
Anna Ringwald says, is Zuck admitting wrongdoing? Yes, no, maybe, kinda, sorta. This is just a way of putting a nice fancy picture over a crappy wall that has mold growing all over it. Yeah, doesn't his picture look great? But there's really dangerous mold growing on the other side of it. Plus, there's cracks in the wall. Is the foundation doing good?
And shut out people with different ideas, and it's gone too far. So I want to make sure that people can share their beliefs and experiences on our platforms. Third, we're changing how we enforce our policies to reduce the mistakes that account for the vast majority of censorship on our platforms. We used to have filters that scanned for any policy violation. Now we're going to focus those filters on tackling illegal and high severity violations. And for lower severity violations, we're going to rely on someone reporting an issue before we take action. The problem is that the filters make mistakes, and they take down a lot of content that they shouldn't. So by dialing them back, we're going to dramatically reduce the amount of censorship.
Oops. Uh-oh. I think there's the censorship thing happening there as well. Let me
On
go.
our platforms.
There you go. The machine had to think for a little bit.
We're also going to tune our content filters to require much higher confidence before taking down content. The reality is that this is a trade-off. It means we're going to catch less bad stuff, but we'll also reduce the number of innocent people's posts and accounts that we accidentally take down. Fourth, we're bringing back civic content. For a while, the community asked to see less politics because it was making people stressed. So we stopped recommending these posts.
We would like to talk to you about that, Zuckerberg. There's a reason why, we had to adapt and overcome. But wow, okay. It was making people stressed. Guess what? People are stressed no matter what. All right? Life is stressful. You got to take notes from Marcus Aurelius and deal with the problems at hand and adapt to it and evolve to it, okay? The world doesn't need a nanny to say, okay, I'm going to get rid of the bad thing. No, the bad thing's still going to be out there. People are still going to be stressed. And even if you get rid of one thing, there's going to be something else that's going to stress them out. And there's going to be another thing and another thing and another thing. You want to know what that's called? That's called life.
But it feels like we're in a new era now. And we're starting to get feedback that people want to see this content again. So we're going to start phasing this back into Facebook, Instagram, and Threads while working to keep the communities friendly and positive. Fifth, We're going to move our trust and safety and content moderation teams out of California, and our US-based content review is going to be based in Texas. As we work to promote free
okay, there's nothing earth-shattering about that. It's probably because the taxes are too damn high in California. Plus, with the amount of instability there, there's probably a lot of people in higher echelon positions being like, I don't want to live in California anymore, and I want to go somewhere else, right? That's the only reason why. That's the only reason why. Not because they want to get in touch with the Texan spirit. Excuse me. No offense to my people in Texas, but they're leaving California for less taxes, number one. And number two, there's a lot of instability in California, okay? Both economically, politically, socially. California's done for, unfortunately. And look, Illinois has its own problems too, so I'm throwing stones in a glass building.
Expression, I think that will help us build trust to do this work in places where there is less concern about the bias of our teams. Finally, we're going to work with President Trump to push back on governments around the world that are going after American companies and pushing to censor more. The US has the strongest constitutional protections for free expression in the world. Europe has an ever-increasing number of laws institutionalizing censorship and making it difficult to build anything innovative.
Wow. Okay, so
Latin American.
He's trying to say that, okay, we're going to be working to protect free speech, but what about here? Because I have a list of fantastic friends in independent media who have wrongly been censored and suppressed. I have a list of fantastic friends who have dealt with the jackboot of censorship. Now, this is the first time I'm getting the memo, but was what recently happened on X, of course, with Elon Musk and people challenging him on his position with the H-1B visas. It didn't go too well for them. Now, they might be politically aligned differently than me, but I don't want to see them lose their livelihood. I don't want to see that happen to anybody. I believe in the First Amendment. I believe in free speech. I believe in people and the right to speak out. That's what I believe in. These are words that I stand by. But sadly, folks, those that we trust to be the protectors aren't really protecting us. And unfortunately, I see the same mistakes happening on X, happening here on Facebook and Instagram. I will not hold out the audacity of hope. If you trust a billionaire and you still want to keep on trusting them and you keep on getting burnt, you can lead a horse to water, can't force it to drink.
Countries have secret courts that can order companies to quietly take things down. China has censored our apps from even working in the country. The only way that we can push back on this global trend is with the support of the US government. And that's why it's been so difficult over the past 4 years when even the US government has pushed for censorship. By going after us and other American companies, it has emboldened other governments to go even further. But now we have the opportunity to restore free expression, and I am excited to take it. It'll take time to get this right, and these are complex systems. They're never going to be perfect. There's also a lot of illegal stuff that we still need to work very hard to remove. But the bottom line is that after years of having our content moderation work focus primarily on removing content, it is time to focus on reducing mistakes, simplifying our systems, and getting back to our roots about giving people voice. I'm looking forward to this next chapter. Stay good out there, and more to come soon.
So I'm wondering now, if I post a link to our YouTube channel, will it get more than one like on Facebook? If I were to post a story on the Heartlands Media Instagram account, will our followers be made aware of it? Because I can remember in the early days of Heartlands Media, and even now, anytime we did do anything, any kind of original content, anytime we talked about politics, silence. Nothing but silence. So looking at this video and hearing this all lay out, I do find it fascinating that now how the media is even addressing it. Facebook and Instagram owner Meta said Tuesday it's scrapping its third-party fact-checking program, placing with community notes. So that means, hey, it's happening today. Starting in the U.S., Meta will end its fact-checking program with independent third parties. Who would that be? The FBI? The company said it decided to end the program because expert fact checkers had their own biases and too much content ended up not being fact checked. Oh my goodness gracious. The watchers were having their own biases. Instead, it will pivot to a community notes model that uses crowdsourced fact checking contributions from its users. So, hey, folks, will this make you be interested in going back to Facebook? A type 1 for yes, Kit. I'm ready to be in the Zuck, in the meta on Facebook and Instagram. Type 2, man, hell no. I'm not trusting this. This smells like shite. Going on, the Associated Press had participated in Meta's fact checking program previously, but ended its participation a year ago. Why'd you end your participation, Associated Press? Too much biases, or were you noticing some shady things? Why'd you leave? What is ongoing? The social media company also said it plans to allow more speech by lifting up some restrictions on some topics that are part of mainstream discussion or to focus on illegal and highly severity violations like terrorism and other kind of dangerous things. I got to be careful because of the YouTube censorship as well. Meta said that its approach of building complex systems to manage content on its platform has gone too far and has made too many mistakes. It's gone too far. It's made too much mistakes. But see, that's not good enough. The other problem is that now we are at the behest of this Trump administration. Now, what I remember, especially during the first term of Trump, when a guy named Alex Jones, as you know him, as soon as he was deplatformed and censored way back, and again, you can have your opinion about him. I remember saying on the radio way back in the day, hey, this is opening up Pandora's box for other people to be censored and suppressed. And what happened? Libertarians got suppressed, progressives, independents. If you were a pro Bernie Sanders supporter, or either that, if you had anything was pro Palestine, if you were questioning the mainstream narrative on Facebook or Instagram, oh, you got that jackboot. And even when Trump was deplatformed, not only was he deplatformed on X, formerly known as Twitter, but he was also removed off of Facebook and Instagram too. That's the thing that took place. And now they're realizing, oh, we might have made some mistakes. It's because people don't like being put into a padded cell, then being duct taped and being told to be quiet. That's not how you live in a free society. But now we're under a second Trump term. And Zuckerberg, who's part of that big club, is wanting to work with Trump. I wonder where Zuckerberg's position is on the H-1B visas. All right, just to be clear on this. But also, folks, just so you know, want to read this from Prim54. Tech lords do not have our best interests in mind. I also want to a couple of these super chats here. Eric Hoots, who tipped $5. Thank you so much for your generosity. These people hate real lefties more than Trumpers. Our community gets overly censored as well. Eric Hoots, the anti-establishment left and right, must unite to defeat these people. And of course, John Michael, thank you so much for your super chat as well. As the only band that mattered, The Clash once said, you have the right to free speech as long as you're not dumb enough to actually try it. You hit the nail on the head on that one. And that's why I love my audience. But also, folks, because this is also flying under a lot of people's radars right now because no one's really talking about the significance of this, such as, hey, Zuckerberg taps UFC president Dana White. Dana White, who was very involved with Donald Trump way back in 2024. We all remember all the times that Trump would attend a UFC event. The crowd is roaring with applause, and Dana White was right there to join him because now Dana White is set to join Meta's board of directors. Meta founder and CEO Mark Zuckerberg announced Monday that UFC president Dana White will be joining his company's board of directors, bringing on the prominent Donald Trump backer less than 2 weeks before the president-elect is set to take office. Zuckerberg made the announcement in a Facebook post saying he admired White as an entrepreneur and his ability to build such a beloved brand, and that Meta's new board will help the company capitalize on massive opportunities ahead of AI, wearables, and the future of social media. White, the CEO and president of the UFC, has helped build a popular mixed martial arts program to $1 billion business and been closer proximity with Zuckerberg in the last few years, as the billionaire tech chief has taken a public interest in martial arts, attended several UFC events because he wants to be part of the club with Elon, Kid Rock, Trump, and all the other people. White, who endorsed all three Trump's runs for president, will join the Meta board not long before the president-elect takes office on January 20th. Trump has attended multiple UFC events and most recently made an appearance at UFC 309 alongside his cabinet picks. Meta also announced that John Eckram, CEO of the investment company Exor, and former Microsoft executive and tech investor Charlie Songhurst as new additions on the board alongside White. It's one big club, and you ain't in it. And then, of course, all right, we got another thing to bring up because I guess Meta's trying to clean house. U.S. social media giant Meta has disabled a number of its AI-powered personas from its platforms, including one posing as an LGBTQ character after users shared their interactions, which drew widespread ridicule. So, in other words, there was an AI system that they had there, and they're getting rid of it. What they are is they're smelling the environment. They're realizing that there's a change in the air, and that if Zuckerberg keeps on doing the same business model, if he keeps on trying to appease the vote blue no matter who crowd or whiny liberals, it's just not going to bring in anything. But there's always a cost. Because now going on with Trump, I mean, it's the same thing. I'm not expecting a wave of free speech, especially with what happened with the back and forth between Elon Musk and some of these more influential MAGA people who did lose their blue check marks and subscriptions. I mean, this is a huge, big concern. We're in uncertain times here in regards to what happens in this environment. I want to say things will get better. I'm ever hopeful for that. That would be ever so nice. But it doesn't look like that's going to be the case. What are your thoughts on it? Is this a new wave of censorship, or is there maybe a wave for more free speech? I think we've learned a lesson with Elon Musk. I don't think we can put any trust in billionaires. I think all the internet and social media platforms should be open to the public. But nonetheless, this is the times we are in. And as I've always said, please keep your heads on a swivel. It's January 7th, 7 days into 2025. Why are things moving so fast? Can't anything just calm down and slow down just for a minute? Maybe 2 minutes? That'd be nice.
Radio station just censored the word devil. Clearly, we are on a different level. I guess you wouldn't notice all the rolling boulders crashing past your shoulders when you're taught to shift your focus lower, scream at all the pebbles. Cheering on the bombers because you can't abide the rebels. But I bet you'll wring your bloody hands when all the dust has settled, when the last little limb is pulled from Gaza's twisted metal. Then you can say how you were led astray, and never once in all your days would you have knowingly supported all the genocide for which you clapped and prayed. But they baited you with unconfirmed blurbs about babies until you were filled with rage. Yet someone told you babies had been starving, bombed, and caged for nearly 80 years in Gaza, and you looked the other way. So regret, but make it fashion. Go and pluck that final petal off a hyacinth on Instagram for every kid they kettled. Every son that Israel imprisoned when they're little, that they tortured for a decade, then surprised with their acquittal. And when they got released and saw their parents and whatever siblings hadn't met the missiles, they stared right through their middle. Their eyes don't seem to focus, and their words are all but dribble, like they're pondering the darkest riddle. That is, how many false flags does it take to make humanity inhuman and uncivil, distorted by the revel? The crooked slant where Israel contorts into America, Biden bathing Bibi in a bloodbath in the bevel. I opened up my feed and I saw children disassembled. Turned some music on and heard the station censor devil. Imagine thinking Doja Cat's a threat to moral fabric in the single largest terror cell that ever felled a temple, that ever sparked a cleansing, that ever burned a market, that ever raped with bayonets or carpet-bombed apartments, that ever turned your water off and left you in the darkness, left you doing surgery on children while they're conscious. You sing the devil's praises every time you sing our anthem. You sing a hymn to him that watched us birth a million phantoms. You'll proudly wave his flag, and yet you will not name the devil? Well, clearly, we are on a different level. I can give you names, shit, I'll give you several. They say the devil wears a different face for every general, like a composite of the char he brought to fields of emerald, and the wail of every childhood we made ephemeral. So who else has left the stain of blood on everything they touch? Who else can starve civilians and they don't so much as blush? Who else has paid for Gaza being flattened into dust? If there's ever been a devil on this earth, then it is us. That's U.S. What an ugly couple letters. Feeding shit and ignorance to those it chose to tether. From the river to the sea, both are slowly growing redder. For the devil that you know just knows you better. It knows every gut reaction it could ever make you feel. It knows fear is that which wakes you up and gets you on your wheel. It knows just the kind of story that will justify its war. And the scripts are wrapped for World War IV. So just imagine my surprise to give the radio a listen and to hear such pious morals out of Zionists and Christians that they'd take the devil's name and try to clip it from existence while they carry out his bloody business. You would wave a fascist flag, and yet you honor not your Iblis? Name you not Apollyon? Hush you now your witness? Bleed the name of Belial till tongue is rolling listless in the man-made mouth of Mammon as Lamia's whispers listen. When carts are wheeling bodies through the cities that we crushed, and the very air is rotten with decay of all that was, who else would censor devil yet behave as Legion does? If there's ever been a devil on this earth, then it is us. U.S., but not a unity of souls. More a mass of corporations turning houses into holes, turning people into puppets, turning puppets into mold, turning mold into nutrition bars worth their weight in gold because they're bombing every bakery and burning every field with phosphorus that never once has wanted for a meal. The devil wears a mask and it delights in the reveal, in that moment where the face is let to peel. We do not love the underdog. We do not cheer the rebels. We lust for all their blood until the dust has finally settled. Then pity just ourselves that we were so misled to revel. Proudly wave his flag, and yet we will not name the devil.